having to share a common area with men. What are the difficulties for girls in the North Korean Army? Greetings! Today, we are going to talk about women's military service in the North Korean Army. And at the same time, we will find out what girls face after enlistment. You will finally find out at what age service begins for female representatives of the female sex and who can be exempted from the oath. Is it true that hot water is often cut off in the barracks, because of which things are washed in rivers and reservoirs? In the DPRK Army, Korean women have to share shower and toilet facilities with men. Myth or truth? For what misdemeanor the North Korean authorities can punish girls and even take their lives? Be sure to watch the video to the very end so you don't miss all the important points. Compulsory military service. Now it is practically no secret that the DPRK Army is one of the most numerous and combat-ready among all others. Suffice it to cite the example that the country's reserve includes more than 7 million servicemen. One of the key features of the North Korean Army is the compulsory draft for the female part of the population. Of course, initially, girls served voluntarily. But in early 2015, a special decree was issued on mandatory conscription for female representatives of the female sex. The DPRK authorities conducted a study, as a result of which it was found out that it is women who are more loyal and thus responsible for the fulfillment of their duties. So, for almost 10 years, girls have been serving in the Army of North Korea legally. Many of you may have wondered about the age of conscription, the length of service, and the type of troops where Korean women serve. Well, let's clarify. North Korean girls are drafted between the ages of 17 and 20. As in most cases, military service for young people begins immediately after graduation from high school. At the same time, the term of service ranges from 3 to 7 years. And young men serve more, from 5 to 10 years. As for the type of troops, girls serve in absolutely all units and subdivisions, but the most promising of them are aviation, navy, and missile forces. The main disadvantage is the difficulty to get there, because in these branches of troops, serious preparation and moral stability are required. And so, Korean women are mostly radio operators, medics, etc. It should also be added that in the DPRK, there are several categories of female population that can be exempted from conscription. These are girls who have made a significant contribution to the development of the country, Olympic champions and public figures, as well as seriously ill people who cannot serve for health reasons. Everyone else is drafted every year, and the size of the DPRK Army is growing. Great prospects or agony and suffering? Agree that when we talk about superpowers and developed countries, the question about the quality of the army arises. For example, what are the conditions for soldiers? Whether they are provided with all the most necessary things for life, and what are the prospects for the future? But in the DPRK Army, especially for female units, not everything is so clear. Yes, on the one hand, girls have a lot of opportunities for self-realization and building a successful career. As we have found out earlier, it depends primarily on the kind of troops the servicemen are assigned to. Nevertheless, it should be understood that such activity requires a lot of effort and multitasking. And if Korean women have families and even children, they have to experience a psychological load. Since you want to have time for both, but in fact, not everyone can do it. But what is most striking are the factors resulting from being in North Korean barracks. If one listens to some of the female members, many questions and misunderstandings arise, especially everything that has to do with daily duties and the relationships of male co-workers. First, as many Korean women claim, hot water is regularly cut off in the barracks. Since there are rivers in the nearby neighborhoods, the girls have to wash their laundry there, or in ponds, which are also located nearby. Secondly, recently, there are often rumors that female representatives of the female sex have to share the shower and toilet with men. By the way, there is testimony from Lee So-young, a former servicewoman who deserted 15 years ago and fled to South Korea. According to the woman, there were no male and female showers and toilets in the barracks, as everyone used common facilities. Also, men often molested young girls to the point of using unlawful acts. Lee So-yeon was disappointed with the sanitation and hygiene conditions, as the barracks were filthy and the mattresses had not been washed for years. After such a scandal, the DPRK authorities became seriously interested in the Korean woman's testimony, and the public wanted to know the whole truth. From above, reported that the testimony of Lee So-young should not be believed, because the woman initially cooperated with journalists. Therefore, there is a possibility that she was promised a substantial fee for her untrue testimony. The North Korean authorities also did not ignore the issue of men's relations with girls, including unlawful ones. Top government officials have made a clear explanation. The country's army has separate barracks. The chances of female representatives crossing paths with men are minimal. But rapes do take place, but it is extremely rare. And if it happens, the offender is seriously punished by the military leadership. That's why everything depends on where the girl will go and what peculiarities of service await her in the next few years. In general, the budget of North Korea is designed to ensure that the country's army is not poor and receives everything necessary to maintain its fighting ability and vitality. Korean women receive quality uniforms and equipment. The only thing is that there are cases when the girls are really loaded to the fullest, especially when it comes to training sessions and fulfillment of mandatory standards. But at the end of the day, a person becomes hardened psychologically. Most Korean women also got prestigious jobs and earned good money throughout their years of service. This means that they became financially independent and provided their families with all the necessities. This is one of the main advantages of compulsory military service: strict punishment. As you have already guessed, North Korea has a rather strict discipline and punishment in case of non-performance of duty. And not only in relation to the male contingent, but also to the female contingent. There is no discrimination in this regard. To make you understand, let's look at the last example. Maybe you have noticed that during the procession and parades, women's shoes are tightly tied with ropes. For many people, this practice remains a mystery. It turns out that everything is simple. Korean women's shoes are tied with ropes so that the shoes do not dangle and do not fly out during the march. It is also possible that at the most important moment, the shoes may not fit properly, and therefore they need to be securely tied. The DPRK parade is a special event that demonstrates the full power and large number of the country's army. And any, even the most minor oversight, can lead to sad consequences for the servicemen. Girls can, without unnecessary questions, appoint a severe punishment, which will be fatal for them. Conclusion. Thus, female service for girls in North Korea is not an easy occupation. It tests a person first of all for moral stability, but it is here that opportunities for professional development are open for female representatives of the female sex. Illegal actions on the part of male co-workers in the country are not an exception, but these are extremely rare cases.